Okay.
Just indicate which members are participating remotely. Someone complained a year or so ago when the ZBA didn't specifically say that they were meeting remotely and who was participating remotely. So I just want to make sure that's clear every time, even if it's obvious. All right.
Okay. With tonight's meeting, participating will be the 3 Rockland Sewer Commissioners, Mr. Daniel DeRoss, Ms. Sherry Valley, and myself, Chuck Hession. That'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
There were actually 2 meetings, March 3rd and March 24th minutes.
I was going to get to that. March, right. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 3rd.
I make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I have to abstain. I was not a member of the board.
Okay, that's correct. I will second that. Mr. DeRoss, your vote?
Yes.
Mr. Hession is a yes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 24th. Do I have a second on that?
I make the motion.
DeRoss, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Hession is a yes. With that, I am going to jump ahead of abatements and skip over that in the discussion on the moratorium. And I'd like to go to the Primrose school presentation as Mr. Attorney Galvin has got to leave. So with that, Attorney Galvin, who would you like us to turn the meeting over to? Mr. Bobrowski, would you like to start? Or
Mr. Bobrowski's, Attorney Mark Bobrowski is going to speak for the Primrose School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Bob. Members, my name is Mark Bobrowski. I'm counsel for Primrose Schools. Primrose is a national chain. Beginning its experience in Massachusetts, they're probably in about 10 communities at this point, and Rockland is the latest of them to join the roster. Back in August, the Vice President for Development, Matt Taylor, got a building permit from your commissioner, and I don't think he was aware at the time that a moratorium was looming. I don't think it had yet been in effect, but it was pretty co-equal in terms of about the time. In any event, he learned about it later, and he asked me to come tonight to plead the case for Primrose to be allowed to hook up to the sewer. I did speak with Dave Taylor today, and he told me that the connection fee would be, I think it's $81,000 flat. In a letter that I wrote the commissioners a couple of months ago in anticipation of this meeting, I offered an additional $5,000 to put into the Sewer Commission's I&I fund. We want to be a good citizen as we join the system, and we thought that that was an appropriate gift to make. Primrose is we think of Primrose as an essential COVID responder here. People need to work and they need to have childcare. So this is a great opportunity for the town to have a chain of great repute serving its children. And we're hoping that you'll look affirmatively on our petition to be connected to the system without regard to the moratorium. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can answer. Our engineer, Kevin Grady, is in Florida, and I'm looking at the roster of participants here. Matt Taylor may not be able to hook in, so I'll do my best.
Mark, I apologize for interrupting everyone. This is Matt Taylor from Rose. I did have a couple of minor technical difficulties, but I am here. So thank you for your time as well, but I'm here to answer any questions I can.
Great.
hey, I guess I'll start it off. Before we begin that, I want to just bring you up to speed on the moratorium. We had been discussing the moratorium for quite a while. There was a partial moratorium on around December and put into effect around the 2006, 2007 timeframe. We have noticed that our I&I and our problems are increasing and not getting any better. Just for perspective, our permit requires us to be at 2.5 million gallons a day. And we are based on a 12-month rolling average. Our 12-month rolling average as of today is 2.94 million gallons a day. That's 438,000 gallons above our permit. The EPA in our new permit has also asked us to if we exceed 80% of our capacity, which is 2.0 million gallons a day, we have to account for that and tell them what we're going to do to correct that. Our monthly average of last month was 3.4 million. The month before that was 4.1 million. I just want to bring you up to speed on that. There are other permittees, applicants that have been approved prior to that moratorium, which was about 11 applicants. All but 2 right now have connected, and 2 more that have been approved. We have to find out what they're going to be doing. Now, with that said, I really have one real question that's really got me extremely curious. Has Primrose been to the Concom, Mr. Bobrowski?
I'll let Mr. Taylor handle that question.
Yes, we have been in the Concom. We were there for site plan approval. Our building and design, as you can physically see in the field now, was all tied to the layout. Was all tied to the Concom approvals of staying away from sensitive wetlands, etc. But we were there.
You are aware that the previous owner had to fill in 6 acres, was ordered to do so by the EPA?
I am aware of that.
Okay.
We bought, just to keep the discussion quick, but we ended up buying an excess amount of acreage just to make it easier for us as the applicant and easier for the seller to really divest of the whole parcel. We're only developing really the upland parcel. We own a fair amount of area behind us that will never be developed.
And you are aware that you are not in a zone A?
I'm aware of that.
You are not in a zone A, correct?
We are not in a zone A, correct.
Bob, can you shed any light on what I'm concerned with, again, is why the building permit issued a permit?
Yeah, so this issue came on my radar screen, I don't know, a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago. And I was trying to basically figure out as land use council what had happened, because it became pretty clear to me that, at least according to what I learned from you, Chuck, and maybe through others, that perhaps there wasn't a final approval given by the sewer department for the connection to Primrose School. And I understood that this project was nearing completion. So I contacted the building department. I contacted Mr. Rubel, I think it was on a Friday, and he wasn't, I don't know if he's working every Friday or was not working that Friday, but he remembered issuing the building permit. And I said, well, did you have all the sign offs? Because that's obviously the process that we follow. And he asked me if he could call me on Monday. So I didn't think about it until the following Monday. He called me on that Monday morning that followed. And he told me that he had been in touch, and John Lucas, who works in the building department, had been in touch with the sewer department, had spoken with Keith, the former superintendent, because Tom Rubel would not have issued the building permit without confirmation that there was a good to go from all of the other departments. And John Lucas and Tom told me the same thing, that Keith had given them the approval, told them that they had had discussion, and that's why they issued the permit. So that's what I reported back to you, Chuck, when I found out that. I also related that to the town administrator. And, I think that's part and parcel of why we're in the situation we're in. Ordinarily, maybe you wouldn't even get down as far as they've done if they hadn't dealt with the sewer issue. But there was a basis to issue that, according to what we were told. And perhaps the former superintendent spoke out of turn or took it the wrong way, but the building department relied upon what they were told. Whether they should or they shouldn't have relied upon what they were told, that's what they did do. And then this project proceeded to the stage of construction that it's at right now. And I haven't driven by it, but I've been told that it's not far from being completed.
What I'd like to add, Mr. Bobrowski, is that to this date, the sewer commissioners have not seen any plans.
Well, I think given the hiatus that's we're in now, you'll see them shortly enough if you give us permission to connect. I would wager that you would have plans in front of you by the end of next week, and that would include the fee.
Well, I'm
So-
certainly not going to give permission, not seeing the plans, first of all.
No, I understand that, but subject to approvable plans, we would like to get authorization to connect.
Okay, well, one thing I do want to add, and I was going to do it later on in the meeting, but I might as well bring it up while you're on the phone. Tuesday morning of this week, I received a call from EPA, Director of EPA Compliance. They want to sit down face-to-face meeting with Rockland to find out why we're not making any headway on our I&I issue. That meeting has not been scheduled yet. They're going to contact me Monday morning. And we're going to try to set a date, but that will be a face-to-face meeting. And again, I'm going to tell you that as of this month, we have 438,000 gallons over a 12-month rolling average. And April is not going to be much better. The moratorium, just again, and please bear with me, I'm not taking shots at you, sir. When we were discussing this moratorium, one of your engineers, Mr. Grady, was representing another client, and he was full in this. He was before us in March. Excuse me. His application came in March. He was before us in May, had computer issues, and came before us in June. And we made it crystal clear his project was a two-part deal, that we had a moratorium, and part one, he had the prints for the first portion of it, and we could grant that, but he knew fully the moratorium was going into effect, and it would be firm. Now, the Board of Commissioners made every effort prior to that moratorium to contact everyone we could with prints in hand to come to us. And at the time that moratorium went into effect, again, we had 11 people approved, and we were over capacity. And I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board. I'll let them have their say. But myself, I am extremely leery of it, and I understand that the situation you're in, but you also have got to understand that the Rockland sewer commissioners are the only ones that can issue a permit and give the okay. And I find it hard pressed to accept the fact that your engineers went on $1 million project on a verbal. That really bothers me, especially when one of your engineers was present when we were talking about this moratorium. I think I've said enough for now. And Sherry, do you have anything you'd like to add, or?
Well, I think it's important that we look at all the applicants that are waiting to connect so that we can come up with a fair determination.
Dan?
I was talking to one of your supervisors at the donor shop, and I says, you didn't have a permit for sewage. He saw me a couple of days later, he says, oh, we got permission. Never came to the commissioners, I told him.
But I do want to go on record is that Primrose had been mentioned in the discussion, and I had seen the construction going on. And I had talked about if there's any way we could accommodate them, where they had started, I'd like to have done that. But again, we never saw any prints, and no one came to us. I mean, Dave Taylor and I even had the discussion as late as the end of January of this year. And I said, contact them to find out what's going on. In the meantime, we've had another applicant come to us with permits who wants to connect. And again, we're over. I really am at a loss for this. I mean, we could take this under consideration. I really don't want to make any decisions whatsoever until the EPA talks to us. I'm sure you can understand that.
I'd like to respond to the comments that I've heard from your members, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay.
Sure, please.
Thank you. Well, I think the new member had it best in terms of making a fair determination. So look at your applicant here first and foremost. This is a protected use under the Dover Amendment. If we were in a zoning dispute, we would have priority. The churches, schools, and childcare centers are the only three things under state law that are given a green light to override local zoning. I don't debate for a second that we're not under zoning, but I want you to put it in context. The legislature 30 years ago deemed childcare centers to be a priority because there was a serious shortage in the Commonwealth. And I'm sure that if you ask around town whether or not people are having any luck finding childcare, the answer is unlikely to be yes, especially after COVID, when roughly a third of the workers decided not to come back. So anybody that can use childcare can certainly use Primrose. Secondly, I think we're probably the only entity in line. I know you have people in line, but I think we're the only one in line that fits the bill of a protected use. But more importantly, we're told by the building commissioner who issued a permit, and secondly, by then supervisor who we consulted with, that we were good to go. So the lack of a plan, once we were told that the moratorium was stopping us, is not surprising. What's the point of generating a plan if the moratorium is holding us up? We're not looking for an immediate connection tonight. We're looking for a connection as soon as we provide you with an approvable plan, which we will do in short order. What Mr. Grady knew or didn't know about other applicants, it's Mr. Grady's business. He's a hired gun for us. He's not a part of the company.
I understand. And again, to your favor also, it is not really a high flow. We're talking 2,000 gallons a day. And I understand that, but
Yeah.
again, I do have another applicant that has provided the prints in the time frame accorded by the ordinance ahead of you, and that's a dilemma I'm having. I would like time to work that out with Mr. Galvin.
Well, let me repeat that. In addition to the $81,000 fee that Mr. Taylor told me about today, which we will pay forthwith, in my letter to you back at the end of February, beginning of March, because of the snafu here, I offered a generous contribution of an additional $5,000, which will go towards taking some I&I out of the system. I don't know what your per gallon costs are, but there's something that's going to come out. And I don't know that anybody else in line has stepped up to offer you a gift, basically, for I&I removal.
Well, Mr. Bobrowski, all I can tell you is that we'd like to look at the plans. What is your timeline to connect?
I'll leave that to Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor, your response?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably 85% through our total construction. And again, obviously, I would not have started construction on a multi-million-dollar project without thinking that we were good to go overall. I mean, that probably doesn't need to even be stated, but we're trying to wrap up site work and we're trying to get to a point where we can connect. And and I understand the dilemma the board's in. I get it, but I'm really stuck in a rock and a hard place, being given the green light. In my mind, I've never gotten a building permit in the hundreds of projects I've done where I wasn't fully approved to cover every bit of my municipal services. So, I'm in a rock and a hard place, just like the board is to some degree. So we're looking to connect, as soon as we can. Absolutely happy to provide plans, for review. It's been a fully approved site plan by the planning board. I have engineered drawings. I'll have them to you immediately. But we're trying to get this resolved as expeditiously as possible, and trying to work with everyone to do so.
Well, again,
When is your next meeting, Mr. Chairman?
well, we have a meeting scheduled, May, I think 17th, May 18th. I'm not sure. It'd be I think I moved it. Wait, hold on one moment, please.
Is it May 19th?
18th.
19th.
Chuck, if you would, those plans have been at the sewer department for quite a while. I made a reference to that a couple meetings ago. From the school
I realize that, but unless,
with the original Form K.
right, but they never were, number one, we were never notified till a couple of months ago that they were there. The others have electronically sent us copies. I'm not in the habit of going through people's paperwork.
That's
The
on the-
only
that's
thing
on the
I would say, we
conference
can
table.
discuss that. We'll take it under discussion tonight. I'll try to get the commissioners down there to look at the prints. Matter of fact, I was gonna have to have a, I was gonna try to have a meeting next Tuesday to go over two other matters. I can add that to this agenda to go, review the prints together.
That would be appreciated. Do you do it as a commission, or do you hire outside engineering, or?
We'll look at it as a commission. It'll be a broad discussion going over it, the flows. I really, to be honest with you, I am gun shy of pulling any approvals right now until after we meet with the EPA. So you also know, we are under an open administrative order now. We were told, plant manager Rick Ratouche from Veolia was told, and I was told, that we can expect a consent order. I was hoping to by August of this year. I think it's coming down before that. With that phone call Tuesday, I think we're going to see it probably by June, July.
So, Mark, we have the town is currently under a administrative consent order.
No, excuse me, it's not a consent order yet, Bob. It's an administrative order.
Okay, administrative order. Okay, and I mean, I've read it. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't quote it verbatim, but it basically said, hey, look, at for every gallon you take in, you got to remove 11 gallons. Okay, and that's how it's been, that was how it was intended to work. And I think the reason you're seeing a lot of new faces on the sewer commission is because it didn't work that way. Okay.
Has a cost been established for the removal?
No.
Per gallon cost?
We had an SSES study, which is a sewer system evaluation study conducted. It ended last year. We got the final results in October. There's a myriad of problems involved. They found 220,000 gallons a day that's cost effective to remove at a cost of $894,000. The Rockland budget for I&I removal is at zero.
So that's roughly $4 a gallon. Is that fair?
$3.68 a gallon. And ahead of you, before we allow you to connect, I have the numbers here. Approved that we have not removed is 35,575 gallons. If we look at that, 391,000 gallons have got to come out, which is not going to happen. I did another one that said that if we came out, it would be roughly 200. Here it is here. The best I could figure it is 200, we'd have to remove 282,000 gallons before if we were in 100% compliance. That's not going to happen because we don't have the funds. That's why I'm saying I want to wait for the EPA as well.
So the beauty of our proposal, as you said, Mr. Chairman, is that it's only 2,000 gallons. So 8,000 is our target. I'm well aware of the pressure that you're under. I do this work all over the state. You're not any different than Merrimack, your cousins to the north, where I'm also facing the same problems with their sewer commission.
Okay, but my problem is, here's the other one. As I said, there is another applicant before you that has presented the plans to the board back in October. And we've been putting them off till we got this moratorium. And the goal was to release enough capacity to handle those we've already approved. It was unfair to make them punished by the moratorium.
Chuck, there's probably some of this discussion that we probably need to resolve outside of this. So this meeting,
I'm trying to be as open as I can with Mr. Bobrowski.
I appreciate that, Mr.
He's in a
Chairman.
bad spot, and so is Rockland.
So perhaps I could suggest that I communicate, I'll be frank with you, communicate a slightly different financial offer over and above the $81,000 connection fee to Mr. Galvin, and that he be prepared to communicate that to you when and if you're putting this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Well, what I would like you to do is have all communications with Mr. Galvin. I'd like to stay out of the legalese if I could.
Okay.
In the meantime, Bob, I would like to set up another meeting with you and the other board members to discuss this. I'd like to do it at your earliest convenience.
Yep. I all we need is 48 hours notice, and I'll send you the agenda item.
Okay, hold on one second. Sherry, Dan, would both of you be available next Tuesday night? Bob, what's your schedule for Tuesday?
If you're doing it, I have town meeting in Marshfield that starts on Monday. There's a possibility it could go over to
No,
Tuesday
hold on.
night.
Let me put it this way.
But wait a second. If the commissioners could do it at like 5 or 6 o'clock, I could do it.
Put it this way. Why don't you give us a day and a time, preferably 5 or after,
Yeah.
that you can be free and spend some time with us, not to have to run off.
Well, I can tell you this, I could do next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't want to do it Friday at 5 o'clock. So I could do it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at 5 o'clock. In order to have the meeting on Tuesday, you'll have to get an agenda published by tomorrow.
Okay, let's shoot by Wednesday then.
Wednesday
Sherry,
at
are you
5?
available Wednesday?
I am available.
Ann, are you available?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'll get the agenda out. You can email me how you would like it to read, and
Yep.
we'll do that Wednesday evening at 5 o'clock.
Would
Yeah,
you like
that'd-
us to be here as well, Mr. Chairman?
I would
You-
prefer not, to be honest.
Are you gonna have a regular meeting too, Chuck,
No,
next week? Okay,
I am for another matter.
okay, all right. So.
All right, well, I'll communicate with Attorney Galvin, and we know each other's number, and we'll see what happens next week.
Fair enough. Mr.
Appreciate
Borowski,
it.
thank you very much, and thank you for understanding the situation we're all in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope we
Thank you
can
all
come
for
to
your
a
time.
resolution.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Can Chuck, I'm just gonna jump over to that 40B meeting. It's the 320 Concord Street project for the ZBA, so I'll text you the agenda item or
Okay.
email it to you, okay?
Just so you know that I was gonna put 320 on the agenda for May,
Okay,
okay?
all right. I'm sure they're gonna talk about it in a few minutes in the other meeting, so,
Okay,
okay,
thank you very much.
all right, take care.
We did, okay, Robin, I guess we'll go to abatements if you have any,
I do.
okay?
Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated.
Oh,
The first abatement is for 8 King Philip Circle. And the owner's name is Richard Smith. I believe he's on with us. Are you on with us, Mr. Smith?
Yes, I am.
Would you
How
like
you
to
doing?
speak?
Yeah, I end up having, in March, a representative of the water department come to my house after Bobby Joe saw that my water consumption was really high. He says, "You got something leaking." So I end up going through my whole house and found out down in my cellar in a bathroom that's not used that the flap was open, and because it was in a area you can't hear it, I guess it was left open for a long time. It was used. So as soon as I saw that, I put down the flap and I shut off the water supply. And then I found out from her what the bill was, and I went to their meeting and I asked for an abatement, and they end up cutting the bill in half. And I'm coming to you guys now to see if I could get my bill cut in half and be on a payment plan, because I cannot afford this. My wife has passed away, so I'm the only income for this house, and I have 3 kids and they're in college. And the
What is
bill is ridiculous.
Robin, what is the bill we're talking?
So the current bill is $4,131.35. And it's all from his latest consumption reading. Prior to that, he had like 4,500, 2,800, 3,400. The highest one was 8,200 right before this current one. So that's probably when the leak started. But he's got almost 70,000 in consumption. And his highest before that was 8,000.
What's the median?
I don't know, but he's asking for 50%. That's water gave him half. They cut the bill in half.
Why don't we do the same? I make a motion that we help Mr. Smith out and abate 50% of the bill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Valley, how do you vote?
I vote yes, cut the bill in half.
Mr. DeRoss,
Yes.
and I am a yes. I wish I could help you out more, sir.
I appreciate that. That's what you just did is great. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody
Okay,
on this. You know,
good luck.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, so the next one that I have is 39 Hackett Circle for Robert Levine. The water tank broke down. The intake pipe was corroded. So he called the service company. They pumped the water from the floor and the tank out into the woods. So he's looking for an abatement on that. The amount of the abatement is only $24. It was actually higher, but we have to charge the minimum. So he's asking for an abatement of $24. And that would put him in keeping with what he normally uses for water.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that abatement for $24.
Second.
No, I need the motion, Dan.
I'll make the motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. DeRoss, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
Yes.
And Mr. Evans, a yes as well.
Okay, and I have one other. And so this woman had two things happen. She lives in Leisure Woods and Conley at 6 Hemlock Street. Her water heater leaked and she had them come out and replace it. And her water usage didn't go down. So they came back out and they found that she had a leak under her home. So all of the water was leaking onto the ground. So when I averaged out her last few periods of consumption, her average consumption is 667. That would bring her abatement $714.12 to get her where she normally is. She supplied a letter and she has the bill. Actually, both bills from both vendors that were at her home.
And what was the leak due to?
First, the water heater leaked and she thought that would take care of it. She must have been advised from the water department that her bill was high. So she had the water heater replaced and the water consumption did not go down. So she had them back out and they found a leak under her home where the water was leaking into the ground, not into her sewer.
She couldn't help that. A lot of abatement. I'll entertain a motion to approve the abatement.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. DeRoss, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Valley?
Yes.
Mr. Hession's a yes.
Thank you very much. That's my last one.
What I wanted to do is have a discussion on the moratorium and sewer use ordinance vote. But that phone call Tuesday morning kind of put that off, and I'm putting this off for discussion. I think until we find out where the EPA is coming from and the direction they are, I think it's kind of risky to modify the moratorium any further. I went back into their facility report, maybe trying to get an idea of what they were looking at. And I went with the 3-year compliance history by quarter. We're out every quarter but 2, going back 3 years. And that's going back until, I went as far back as first quarter of 19, ending at 03/19. And we've only been in compliance twice. So I have no idea what they're doing. My gut feeling, and I spoke with Rick about it, is that if they condition this, they're not going to go after the facility. They're going to condition the collection system, which is the I&I. So I think, and again, I am not making a decision for you guys. I need you to voice your opinion on it. But I think going any further with the moratorium anyway is risky till we see what they want to say. As far as the ordinance, I like Sherry's idea about having a little working group and see if we can pick through that and change it from an ordinance to rules and regulations. That way it don't require a town vote. But Sherry, what's your thoughts on it?
As far as the moratorium, would the conditions that we have now stand until after we speak with the EPA,
Well-
or we dissolute it?
We didn't vote on approving the whole moratorium. We voted to alleviate conditions that would affect those already approved. So I'm really not worried about that. One thing I know they won't let us off the hook is at 11 to 1, so I don't think we can touch that, but I really don't have any idea what else. I know they have a copy of the moratorium that went into effect July 1 of last year. So they have that. I told them that we were in the process of modifying it, sort of got a, ho hum, oh really, but they're not going to commit. My feeling is to let it lie until they come in and tell us what they're looking at. I know one of the things, Rick, you may want to do, they mentioned they will want a plant tour.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping you can Shanghai Ed into doing that one.
No, we'll take care of it.
But again, I'd let that moratorium rest for now. My opinion, not yours. And I think we could still, through the working group, pick at that ordinance. It definitely needs some work. But, I want to hear what you people have to say, and it's not just me.
Yes, I would definitely favor a working group, and I was going to suggest that this evening. I think with these people that are approved, I just think there's more documentation is going to be needed to manage the situation. And I don't think the Form K is really adequate for what we need. So I was going to suggest a working group for that. And I think that would be, will naturally lead into figuring out how we're going to work this.
Dan, how do you feel?
I like the moratorium better, but if this plan she has will work, we'll use that.
Okay, what I was going to suggest is, I don't want to jump around, so why don't we decide to leave the Dave, do you have any opinion on it?
On which part, Chuck? The moratorium?
Moratorium now till they come in.
I'm gonna leave it up to the commissioners.
What do you think?
I mean, I've told you what I thought. I think you need a lot of discussion on it. I think we have to get a process. We keep hopping around with the different processes. We haven't said anything yet. I think that comes from when the plans come in, how we're going to implement it, and what you can do on the moratorium. But you also have a meeting with the EPA in May, early May, to go over a few of the compliances.
Did they give you a date?
They want to do it the first week of May, towards the end of the week. So like the 4th or 5th. So.
All right, I got a call to Dave Terran Monday, so I'll see where they're going. That meeting, I'd like to have it a public meeting in Zoom if possible. I don't see it any reason.
They want to have it at the plant.
Yeah, I know they do, but I'd like to have it in an open meeting, at least taped. And the ones I see there of yourself, the board, Rick. I think probably Doug should sit in on it until we can find out where they're going with this.
I think they're going to ask, they're going to make the requirements and who they want there.
Okay.
So, from what I understand, talking with Karen McGuire.
Who was it?
Karen McGuire, she works with Dave Tarrant.
Okay.
Who is she going to be contacting? You,
She
Dave,
said
or-
she said she would make contact with us. So I'm assuming she'll reach out to whoever she thinks she needs to reach out to. So
That may be what Dave wants to talk about Monday morning. I have no idea.
My thought is that if they are going to ask for who's to attend, the question is, can anyone else attend?
Well, no, but one thing will be is that I think the bottom line will be who we want to attend. When they can ask who they want, they can't mandate. One thing for sure is that the commissioners will attend. I want all the commissioners there.
And we can bring in someone else if we desire.
I would
wait till they say.
I would wait till the EPA says who they want there and who's required to be there, and I don't think we're in any place to demand anything right now, so.
No, not planned.
But again, that the commissioners, I would like all three commissioners there, so I think you guys should, ladies should plan your time accordingly. So I'm gonna table that discussion.
Can I say something? Logistically, I'm not sure if you have the meeting at the plant, if it can be on Zoom at the same time when you're all together, because we just don't have the equipment for that.
Okay, let me work it out with Dave on Monday. Like I said, I have no idea what he wants to talk about. I'll make that known, and if it has to be, we'll do it up at our WRPS.
Dave instructed us that they wanted at the plant. They want to do.
I know they want to play a tour, but I also would like them to speak in general. I don't want to
Okay.
cut it out. Let me work the logistics out with them. And I do know, like Ed, Rick, I would like Ed to conduct that tour.
I can actually, I'd like to talk about that afterwards.
Okay, you can do that.
Yep.
Where are we? Continuation of old business. Any more discussion, Dave, on that pipeline from Memorial Park?
We started it today with National Water Main through AECom. They have another, so they did do the weirs and they did do the camera work up there on the lateral coming from the school. Found another manhole, a lot of infiltration in that line going into the 18-inch trunk line. A lot of roots. What's that?
That's the one you found 2 years ago, last year?
Correct, yep. Yeah, 2020. It
Yeah.
was before the school project started, so.
Yeah.
So we're gonna quantify the before, and then once they disconnect that, once the school is demoed, we'll be able to quantify the after and get the gallons, the accurate gallons that we need to at that point. They're also doing Jefferson because that's going to be a disconnect as well when the school project's completed. So we'll be able to quantify the before and after gallons leaving the school. Also, like I said, the one at Memorial Park, we found an old manhole underneath the ground, which was a lot of infiltration there. And then all the laterals, the 3-foot clay segmented pipes with roots grown in it. So we couldn't get all the way through the pipe. So a lot of infiltration on that lateral as well. So, and then they're coming back out. They're going to finish Jefferson and then do the 6th Delpre, which is Holy Family. On that pipe there, it's the same thing, is segmented clay pipe too. So that's that conversion, that elderly complex for the Holy Family School. So it's in the works. So.
Okay. I was going to say publish a waiting list, but I think again, we're going to hold off. We know who's connected and approved. We've got to talk through this Primrose. Other people that are connected, Sherry, you're going to talk to Dave about where we stand for fees collected for the connections. Have they all paid?
For
With the exception of the brewery in Monahan?
well, no, Monahan Rink is paid.
So how much, with all those connections that have been put in, how much do we have? Because I'm throwing last month we had 0 INI funds.
Well, these were all a while ago, all the fees. But if you're talking about the brewery, that was 2021. So that was an existing connection. So there wasn't fees involved in that.
Okay, so what do we have pending to connect? We have
Dyer Street,
Dwyer,
Dyer.
and the brewery's connected. So it just says Dwyer, right?
Dyer, yep.
Dyer.
I mean, you have pending projects such as 365, Beechwood Estates. I mean, whatever depends with Primrose. You have the Academy, which they're obviously we've got some negative feedback from residents on that. So but you have a few pending, so. But the only ones we'll be waiting fees on are Dyer right now.
And what, just out of quick, what is that, Dwyer, fee wise? Well, do you
What
have
is it?
you have a ballpark? Just curious.
Dyer Street, 214.
What is it?
Yes,
See what I got for build out on that.
I talked with Robin yesterday on the build out figures that she had provided.
Yeah, that's still, let me see. I have about 100 build outs here. They've all changed. Dyer Street's tentatively around 200. That's because you get a per unit price, 16 units per unit price on the sewer tie-in. The remediation, $20 per gallon, 110. It's close to 100,000 on the INI. They've just started that project, so.
Just started.
All right, superintendent position update. What I was hoping to do is if Dan, Sherry, if you're available Tuesday at 3 o'clock to meet with Stacy Callahan up at Town Hall. Shouldn't take more than a half hour.
What are we gonna punish for now?
No, we're not. We're going to be looking at how she wants to just go over the interview process with the two of you. Again, we could talk about how we want to schedule them, how you want to format the questions, start thinking of some questions to bring in, things of that nature. Again, she's going to be tied up with some paperwork for overall for the town. So that's really about the only time she could meet. So if we could do it, I'll put out an agenda that we meet at 3 o'clock up at one of their conference rooms, let her make the call time. It'll be no more than a half hour.
Okay,
No problem.
And what we want to do is also schedule dates and times for the four or five candidates.
Can I ask a question on that?
First name,
Mary
address.
Parsons?
Yeah.
I want you to check with town council because it's a specific procedure that you have to do if all three of you are going to meet with Stacy and look at candidate applications. That is a screening process. So you want that explained
Okay, we
from
can.
Bob Galvin
Okay.
before you do anything.
Well, we all have the applications. We've all looked at them. What I wanted to do is go over.
There is an open meeting law process.
And we are
and
going
it's
to do it in open meeting, Mary. What I wanted them to do, what I wanted Stacy to do was explain the whole process from her rather than from me.
That she can come to a public meeting. She should have been here tonight to do that
She was tied up tonight.
process. That's what I'm talking about, is the process.
Okay, well, we are going to have an open meeting Tuesday to meet with her up at Town Hall. I will put
Right,
out the agenda tomorrow.
Public meeting.
Yes. I will put out the agenda tomorrow. Superintendent update. Dave?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up. So you had some bullet points there, so elementary school, you had a note there, have we ruled out that there's no excessive water coming, impact of,
Just covered that with that.
yeah. The CWMP, so I think we've got, there's only one thing that I'm waiting on from what is it? The Board of Health for a couple things on where the septics are. So we've been trying to help them on that, on where the septics are. And I think we've only got 2 items to forward over to Wright Pierce.
Did you answer the question on the MWRA, on the MBTA zone or?
Yeah, so we don't have, technically, we don't have MBTA zones.
Okay.
So are you talking about the transit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we're within a mile. So we don't have anything designated as that point right now, so. As far as transit, so the CWMP, obviously, they're gonna be giving an update in a few weeks on that, I think you were asking
Yeah,
Adam for, yeah. And then the butternut project, all the mechanicals are out of that right now, so I know they've been doing test runs, and I know Rick said they got a call on it over the weekend, and then they came right out, so they're still going through that system. Digester boiler, Wilkinson, waiting to hear back from them, and then we have to put out the bid for the additional gas piping on that project. So that'll have to go out to bid. And I think that's it. I mean, we got, trying to think of the other projects.
the other thing I wanted to ask you though about was, I saw the articles. And I got a question, it's probably just gonna be an education purpose, but I saw it in the indirect, and maybe I'm reading it wrong. Are we being charged, the sewer department being charged to do our billing
As far as we're doing what, billing?
for users?
Are you talking about through Data National?
Yeah.
Yeah, the town, all those departments get charged for that, Data National.
Because I'm confused if they, and again, an education for me. If they don't get paid, if they don't pay water and sewer usage, why should we be charged to do, are we covered in that in our taxes?
I'm not sure on what you're implying. Are you talking about the billing process itself?
Yeah.
So what are you implying? So
Are we being charged to do the billing?
Can I speak to that?
yeah, Robin's better on the Data National. She's a pro.
So I do all the billing through Data National, and then we have an outside vendor that prints the bills. So once the bills are ready, we send them over an electronic file. They produce them and they charge us for that, and to mail them, and we pay postage. So it's an outside vendor.
Okay. That makes sense, but okay. That is it, Dave?
That's all I got.
Rick, you're on. First of all, the end of the month, where we at for numbers?
Okay, so for March, as you referred to earlier, Chuck, it was 3.4. Currently, right now, we're at 2.8. So yes, we're still above our 2.5 monthly average flow.
What is it for the rolling average, the 12-month rolling?
I didn't really look at that.
So we're still around 2.94, right?
Yeah, that would make sense. Just going through the update here. You had wrote on the monthly I&I ongoing. I know that's something that's just a statement that I put in the monthly report, and that being I&I ongoing. What I'm referring to that, Chuck, is, as you know, the I&I is not part of the O&M contract.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, so I mean, even prior superintendents and Dave, you know, they always fill me in. They tell me what they're doing in I&I, but obviously I don't have any. It's more or less just to let me know, keep me informed versus, you know, my input on it.
Well, the reason I put that on is I was going back to that 80%. Remember, I had you looking into that shit.
Yep.
You shouldn't be touching the collection system, correct?
Right, correct. That is correct.
So that would be a superintendent's that to report for that 80%.
Yes, that is correct.
What about the phosphorus? How do we stand? How are you doing with sludge on that?
Right now, okay, so let me update the phosphorus study. Obviously, we kind of started it in March. We're only 3 weeks in. Thus far, the results are looking good. We're taking it slow and steady. So as of right now, only 3 weeks in, you know, my chemical usage is up because I'm using, you know, more ferric chloride, and sludge is consistent right now. But as we get more into the next month, and it's, again, this is a 7-month study, and as we get deeper into the summer, I plan on turning up the ferric even more, which will create more solids, which will create more usage in lime and like I said, in sludge. But I do have a report. I don't have it with me. I talked to Dave about it every month. At the end of the month, I'm going to give him an update, you know, and to the board also, and to just let you guys know where we're at with the total phosphorus study. So,
Are you worried at all with the clarifier with the adding the higher amounts of ferric, the corrosive?
Yep, no, I mean, as of right now, we're okay. Now, come July and August, I may have a different, a different story on that, but as of right now, everything's going well.
Okay.
On that. Like I said, we've got a hold of this program, and like I said, I'm very optimistic. Whether or not we can stay at 0.1, I guess we'll find out in 7 months. The other thing I wanted to talk, I know, Dave, we're still waiting to get ADS in for the effluent flow meter. Been just trying to get the schedule together. I'm hoping he'll be out one day next week. They've been in once already. And once we get that, we should get a final proposal. And after talking to Dave, we plan on starting that as soon as possible, get that new flow meter in. And that's kind of where we're at. Repair and maintenance projects right now, nothing really happening right now. Just maintaining everything. The process is running great, like I said, but we're not really doing much as far as repair and maintenance. Again, because of the end of the fiscal year, we're trying to watch our costs. Last thing I have is the staffing. As you noted before with Ed, unfortunately, I give the board bad news. Bad news, good news. Ed has left employment here in Rockland. He hasn't left Veolia. He took an excellent opportunity. He's now going to be a project manager in Orleans, Massachusetts. He's actually off. He's off this week. He took a vacation, and he is officially in Orleans. So my goal now is to replace Ed, and I'm hard at work at doing that. As soon as I come up with a candidate, I will let the whole board know. But Ed was with me almost 9 years. I'm going to miss him a lot. He was a good work. I want him to come on tonight, but unfortunately, him and his family, they're out west on a much needed vacation. So at the same thing, so the funny part was I just hired another individual last Monday, which would have got my staffing back up to 8. Now I'm back to 7. So I'll be at it again.
Well, Rick, my concern, I'll be honest, is that you find someone that's technically capable as Ed.
Yep.
Because we've got a lot ahead of us with the
absolutely.
CMP and upgrade and the phosphorus alone.
Nope, I definitely know
Phosphorus,
that.
I'm sure is going to, when you're looking for, I can't tell you how to hire, but when you do that, please keep in mind someone who's got a good background in tertiary treatment for phosphorus.
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of all I have right now. You have any questions for me, Chuck?
No. I mean, did you make the flow go away?
No, it's come down a little bit, but it won't go away, unfortunately.
And with that, if anybody from the public has some comments on tonight's meeting or suggest items for the next meeting, the meeting, as I said, Tuesday is just going to be going over how we want to schedule the interviews. I mean, it will be an open meeting for Stacy's convenience. I'm going to have it at town hall, let her pick out where. So with that, if anybody has any comments to make, any suggestions?
Yeah, I think that on the I&I, the 11-to-1 ratio, is it $20 per gallon?
Yep.
'Cause I don't think that was clear to the Primrose School.
That went up. We put that into effect. Robin helped me out a year ago, July, correct?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that was, we modified that to 2,000 gallons and we submitted it to them today.
Yeah, so they're clear on the $20.
Right.
We've seen it in writing.
Because it didn't sound like it when he was offering the $5,000 as a gift.
That was 81,000 plus the
That was-
$5,000.
That's right. That
Right,
81,000 was its development.
Yeah, the 81,000 is a development fee, right?
No,
What is it?
that's a combination of all the fees together.
So it's the 11-to-1 ratio? And what other fees?
Well, that is not, well, that's what he was making a clear on, because we still haven't established whether we were gonna do an 11-to-1 or if we were gonna raise that up to a higher point. So,
So
It's
how
not-
would he skip out of the 11-to-1? I don't think he's allowed to do that.
no, that's not what I'm making reference to. I'm making reference if the commissioners want to make it higher. That's still pending whatever the commissioners would like to make. They know they have to do the 11 to 1.
Okay. That's it for me, I think, for now.
Anyone else? With that, I'll entertain a motion to end tonight's meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Mr. Dross,
Yes.
Ms. Valley,
Yes.
Sessions a yes. Thank you very much for tonight. I will put it on agenda for Tuesday, first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you. How do you leave this thing?